Stranger Things. Season 5 is going to be brutal. We all know it. The Duffer Brothers have been warning us for years that the final season would be their version of Return of the King. And if you remember, that movie didn't exactly let everyone walk away unscathed. But here's the thing. Volume 3, if they split the season like they did with the Season 4, is going to be where the real carnage happens. That's where the final battle takes place. That's where sacrifices get made. So today we're breaking down every character who's probably not making it out of Hawkins alive. Before we dive in, just remember, this is all speculation based on narrative patterns, character arcs, and what we know about how the Duffers write their stories. Nobody actually knows what's going to happen except the writers, the cast, and probably a handful of terrified Netflix executives. But let's be honest, we've been watching this show since 2016. We know how these things work. Let's start with the most obvious and most heartbreaking prediction. Steve Harrington. I know. Everyone loves Steve. He's had one of the best redemption arcs in television history, going from douchebag boyfriend to beloved babysitter to genuine hero. But that's exactly why he's in danger. Steve's arc is complete. He's found his purpose protecting the kids. He's made peace with Nancy moving on. He's become the person he was always meant to be. And in storytelling, when a character completes their arc, especially in a final season, they become a prime candidate for a heroic sacrifice. Think about it. Steve has been getting increasingly reckless with his own safety. He threw himself into the Upside Down to save Nancy. He got dragged underwater and nearly eaten by demobats. He's constantly putting himself between the kids and danger. That's called foreshadowing. The Duffers have been preparing us for this. Steve's going to have one final moment of heroism, probably saving Dustin or one of the other kids, and it's going to destroy us all. The question isn't if Steve dies, it's how many tissues you'll need when it happens. Next up, we have to talk about Murray Bauman. Murray's been the comic relief conspiracy theorist who somehow always ends up being right, but he's also been involved in increasingly dangerous situations. He's a civilian who's gotten way too deep into this supernatural war. He doesn't have powers, he's not particularly athletic, and he's been operating in the shadows with Joyce and Hopper, dealing with Russian threats. The Duffers love their tragic deaths and Murray sacrificing himself so Joyce and Hopper can finally be together. That's the kind of bittersweet storytelling they live for. Plus, it would give weight to the Russian subplot and show that actions have consequences. Murray knows too much, he's been too involved, and honestly, his survival this long has been somewhat miraculous. Now let's discuss someone who's been dancing with death since literally the first episode. Will Byers. The entire show started because Will disappeared into the Upside Down. He's been connected to that dimension ever since. He can sense the Mind Flayer. He's been possessed. He's been the central mystery of the series. And there's a very real possibility that the only way to truly close the gates and end the Upside Down's connection to Hawkins is through Will. Maybe he has to sacrifice himself to sever that connection permanently. It would be devastating. It would come full circle. And it would give Will the agency he's been denied for most of the series. Instead of being the victim, he becomes the hero who saves everyone. The Duffers have said the final season returns to the show's roots, and those roots are all about Will Byers. Here's a controversial one. Max Mayfield. Now technically, Max already died at the end of season 4. Her heart stopped. She was clinically dead. 11 brought her back, but Max is currently in a coma with unclear brain activity. The show's made it pretty clear that Vecna still has a piece of her. He consumed part of her when he killed her, which is why he was able to begin the apocalypse. Season 5 might reveal that Max can't truly live while Vecna lives, or worse, that Vecna is using her as an anchor to the real world. 11 might be forced to let Max go in order to defeat Vecna permanently. It would parallel 11 losing Hopper in Season 3, except this time she'd have to make the choice herself. Max has been through hell, and sometimes the most tragic thing isn't dying. It's being brought back only to have to die again. Now, the most debated potential death. Jim Hopper. Hopper already had a fake-out death in Season 3, and the Duffers faced criticism for that emotional manipulation. Would they actually kill him for real this time? Maybe. Hopper's arc has been about redemption, about becoming a father again after losing his daughter Sarah, about finding reasons to live. If he dies saving Eleven and Joyce, sacrificing himself so they can have the life he never got with Sarah, that would be poetic. It would hurt, but it would be earned. The question is whether the Duffers have the guts to actually follow through this time, or if they'll give Hopper and Joyce their happy ending. There's also the very real possibility that some of the newer characters introduced in Season 5 will die. The Duffers have a pattern of introducing likable characters just to kill them off for emotional impact. We saw it with Bob, with Alexi, with Eddie. Season 5 will likely introduce a few new faces, and some of them will probably be cannon fodder, there to show how dangerous the final battle is without killing off too many legacy characters. It's a bit of a cheat, but it's effective storytelling. Let's talk about the most heartbreaking possibility: Eleven herself. Jane Hopper has been the center of this story from the beginning. She's the one with the powers, the one who opened the gate, the one who's been fighting this battle longer than anyone. There's a very real possibility that defeating Vecna and closing the Upside Down permanently requires Eleven to sacrifice herself. Maybe her powers are the anchor keeping the dimensions connected. Maybe defeating Vecna means defeating the part of Henry Creel that gave her those powers in the first place. Eleven dying to save everyone, finally getting to just be a normal kid in her last moments, would be devastating but thematically appropriate. It would complete her arc from weapon to person to hero. But honestly, this might be too dark, even for the Duffers. Killing your main character, especially one who's been so thoroughly traumatized throughout the series, might be a bridge too far. Finally, we can't ignore the possibility that Vecna himself represents a tragic death. Henry Creel, or One, was once a victim too. A child with powers who was experimented on and tortured. The Duffers love redemption and complexity. There might be a moment where we see Henry's humanity again, where he realizes what he's become and helps defeat the Mind Flayer, sacrificing himself in the process. It would add layers to the villain and give the story a more nuanced ending than just heroes defeat monster. Whatever happens, we know it's going to be emotional. We know it's going to honor these characters and their journeys. And we know that when that final episode ends, Stranger Things will have earned its place as one of the defining shows of this era. Even if it destroys us in the process, make sure you stock up on tissues, hug your friends who watch the show with you, and prepare yourself for what's coming. Because the Upside Down doesn't let people go easily, and neither does Hawkins. Some of our favorite characters aren't making it out, and honestly, that's how it should be. The stakes have to matter. The sacrifices have to mean something. That's what makes great television. That's what makes Stranger Things special, and when it's all over, we'll remember not just how they died, but how they lived, how they fought, and how they loved each other until the very end.